and stranger gave me an ancient mirror, and I see a version of myself that hates me. What if the reflection staring back at you isn't really you? What if behind the glass lies a darker shadow, filled with anger and hatred? A version of yourself you never wanted to meet. This is the story of a mysterious gift, a mirror from Africa's forgotten past, and the battle within a man's soul to face the darkness he never knew existed. Every night, the mirror whispers secrets. Every night, the reflection grows stronger, mocking, threatening, waiting. Will he break free, or will he be consumed by the shadow he sees in the glass? Prepare yourself for a tale of mystery, fear, and redemption, deep in the heart of Africa. It was a quiet evening in the small African village when the stranger arrived. No one knew where he came from, but his eyes held secrets deep as the night. He wore clothes unlike anyone had ever seen. Dark, flowing robes that seemed to shimmer in the fading light. I was curious but cautious as he approached me with a small, wrapped object in his hands. Without a word, he handed me an ancient mirror, its frame carved with strange symbols and worn by time. "Keep this safe," he said softly, his voice echoing like a distant drumbeat. Then, just as quickly as he appeared, he vanished into the shadows, leaving me with a strange feeling, a part fear, part wonder. That night I sat alone in my hut, holding the mirror. It was heavier than I expected, cold to the touch and strangely alive. When I looked into it, I didn't just see my reflection, I saw something else. Something darker. And in that moment, I realized my life was about to change forever. The morning light filtered through the cracks of my hut as I stared deeper into the mirror. The glass was not ordinary, as it shimmered with a strange, smoky glow, like a swirling mist trapped beneath the surface. I could see my face clearly, but there was something more. A shadow lurking just behind my eyes. Curious, I traced the carvings on the frame with my fingers. The symbols were unlike anything I had ever seen, twisting shapes that seemed to tell a forgotten story. I wondered about the mirror's history. Who made it? Why did the stranger give it to me? Questions filled my mind, but no answers came. That night, as the village slept, I caught a glimpse of movement in the glass, a flash of anger, a hateful glare staring back at me. My reflection wasn't just a reflection anymore, it was alive, and it hated me. Fear settled in my chest, but so did a strange pull, as if the mirror was calling me deeper into its dark secret. I knew this was only the beginning of a journey I could not yet understand. That night I couldn't sleep. The mirror sat across the room, catching the moonlight and casting eerie shadows on the walls. I found myself drawn to it, as if something unseen was pulling me closer. When I finally looked into the glass again, my breath caught in my throat. The reflection staring back was not quite me. Its eyes burned with anger and its lips curled into a cruel sneer. It moved on its own, mocking me, daring me to face what lurked inside. I tried to look away, but I was trapped, caught in a silent battle with this dark version of myself. It whispered cruel words without sound, filling my mind with doubt and fear. "You are weak," it seemed to say. "You don't deserve to live." For a moment, I felt my own resolve crumble, but deep inside, a fire ignited. I refused to let this shadow control me. The mirror had shown me my enemy, a part of me I never wanted to see. Now I had to find the strength to fight it, or lose myself forever. Days passed, but the mirror's grip on my mind only grew stronger. I tried to hide it, to keep it covered, but every time I looked away, I felt the shadow lurking just beneath the surface, watching me. One night, the mirror began to change. The smoky glass swirled faster, and strange shapes appeared. Faces, places, and memories that were not mine. Whispers filled the room, soft and chilling, like voices from another world. I saw glimpses of a forgotten past. A time when the mirror was forged in a hidden African village, a place of powerful magic and ancient spirits. The mirror was not just a gift, but a prison. trapping the anger and pain of those who had suffered before me. The stranger's warning echoed in my mind. Keep it safe. But I realized now it was more than a warning, that it was a curse. The mirror was alive, and it was hungry for more than just reflections. I was caught in a web of secrets and darkness, and I didn't know if I could escape. That night, I was drawn once again to the mirror's strange glow. As I gazed into its depths, the glass rippled like water, and suddenly, I was no longer in my hut. The mirror showed me a world beyond my own. An African village lost in time, surrounded by mist and shadows. I saw people dressed in colorful cloths, their faces serious and eyes filled with ancient wisdom. But something was wrong. Dark spirits hovered nearby, whispering curses and unrest. Through the mirror, I watched a young woman pleading with the spirits. Her voice was filled with sorrow, begging them to spare her people from a terrible fate. Then the scene shifted. The woman's face twisted in fear as a shadowy figure reached out from the darkness. I realized the mirror was showing me a story, a warning from the past. It was as if the mirror held a piece of that other world trapped inside, begging to be understood. The line between reality and the mirror's vision blurred. I didn't know if what I saw was a dream or a warning, but one thing was clear. My fate was tied to this ancient mystery. Days passed, but the darkness inside me grew heavier. The mirror's curse wasn't just in the glass, it was seeping into my soul. I caught myself staring into the mirror even when I didn't want to, feeling the pull of the shadowy reflection calling me closer. Sometimes I felt two different selves fighting inside me. The person I was and the dark figure the mirror showed. I struggled to keep my thoughts clear, but fear and anger crept in, twisting my feelings. Small things would set me off, a harsh word, a sudden noise, and I felt the shadow's cruel whispers grow louder. One evening, as the sun set over the African horizon, I saw my reflection smile. But it wasn't my smile, it was cold, mocking, and filled with hate. I knew then that if I didn't find a way to break the mirror's curse, this darkness would take over completely. I was losing the battle within. But somewhere deep inside, a spark of hope still burned. I had to fight. For my soul, my life, and the truth hidden behind the mirror's deadly secrets. The truth hit me like a thunderstorm. This mirror was no ordinary object. It carried a curse older than time, born from the dark magic deep within an ancient African tribe. I remembered the stranger's words the day he gave me the mirror. This is not a gift, but a burden. At first I didn't understand, but now every whisper from the glass made sense. The curse was simple yet terrifying. Whoever looked too deeply into the mirror would awaken a shadow self, an angry, twisted version of themselves trapped between worlds. This shadow fed on fear, pain, and regret, growing stronger with every glance. I saw the mirror's history etched in my mind. Villagers who vanished, families torn apart, souls lost forever to the darkness. The mirror was a prison and a trap, designed to hold not just reflections but the very essence of the cursed. Now I was part of that story. The shadow within me was no longer just a vision. It was becoming real. I had to find a way to break the curse before it destroyed everything I loved. I stood before the mirror, heart pounding, knowing that the shadow inside was waiting for me. The reflection stared back with burning eyes, cold and full of hatred. It wasn't just a simple image anymore, it was a part of me, twisted by the curse. The shadow spoke without words, its presence heavy in the room, filling every corner with fear. I felt its anger, its pain, and most frightening of all, its desire to take over completely. But I refused to give in. I reached out, placing my hand on the glass, feeling a cold chill spread through my body. The shadow mimicked me, but its movements were sharp and cruel, like a snake ready to strike. For the first time, I spoke to it, not with words, but with willpower. "You are not me," I whispered. "I am stronger than this darkness." The room trembled, and the mirror cracked slightly as if my defiance was breaking the curse's hold. This battle was far from over, but I had taken the first step, facing the darkness within and refusing to be consumed. Determined to end the nightmare, I searched for answers about the mirror's dark magic. Old stories spoke of a ritual, one that could shatter the curse, but at a great cost. I gathered the sacred herbs and called upon the spirits of my ancestors, hoping they would guide me. The night was silent except for the crackling fire and the whispered prayers. With trembling hands, I held the mirror above the flames, feeling its cold power resist me. The shadow inside roared, twisting and writhing in the glass, fighting to stay alive. But I was stronger now, not just with magic, but with the courage I had found within. I chanted the ancient words, and slowly the mirror began to crack and splinter. Light burst from the shards, and the shadow screamed as it dissolved into nothingness. When the last piece fell, silence returned, peaceful and complete. The curse was broken. I was free. But I knew this victory came with a price. The mirror's dark magic had left its mark on me forever. Still, I smiled, knowing I had faced my deepest fear and emerged stronger. And now, my reflection was truly mine again. Just when I thought the nightmare was over, the shadow returned, stronger and more relentless than before. It whispered in the silence of the night, creeping into my thoughts, twisting my dreams. No longer confined to the mirror, the darkness followed me everywhere. I felt its cold breath on my neck, a constant reminder that the curse was not yet broken. My reflection in every glass seemed to flicker, showing that angry face I had tried to banish. The shadow was no longer just a vision. It was becoming a part of my world. Fear gripped my heart, but I refused to run. This was my fight, and I had to face it head-on. I searched for strength in old traditions and the stories my grandmother told me, tales of spirits and courage. The ancestors' voices guided me, reminding me that light always finds a way to pierce the darkness. With renewed determination, I prepared myself. The shadow may have returned, but I was ready to meet it, this time with the power of both spirit and mind. The shadow was no longer just outside. It had slipped inside me, stirring a storm of fear and doubt. Every day felt like a fight to hold on to who I really was. Sometimes, I saw the shadow's face in my own reflection, twisting my features into something cruel and unfamiliar. It whispered lies, telling me I was weak, broken, and lost. But deep inside, a small light still flickered, a spark of hope that refused to be snuffed out. I fought back by remembering the stories of brave souls who faced their demons and won. Each moment was a battle between the darkness trying to take control and the light fighting to shine through. I learned to breathe deeply, to focus on the love of my family and the strength passed down through generations. Slowly, the shadow's grip loosened, but it still lingered, testing me at every turn. I realized this was more than a fight for survival. It was a journey to understand myself. The battle within was not just about banishing darkness, it was about embracing the light that had always been inside me. As the shadow pressed harder, I found strength in an unexpected place, the light within me. I remembered the warmth of my grandmother's stories and the power of the ancestors' spirits guiding me. With every sunrise, the darkness seemed to weaken, pushed back by the growing light in my heart. I carried a small charm my grandmother had given me, woven from sacred herbs and blessed by the village elder. That charm became my shield, a symbol of hope and protection against the shadow's pull. Each night I faced the darkness with courage, lighting candles and chanting prayers learned long ago. The shadow howled and twisted, but I stood firm, refusing to be swallowed by fear. I was no longer a victim, but a warrior fighting for my soul. Slowly, the mirror's curse began to fade, the hateful reflection losing its power. The real me shone through, the me that was strong, brave, and free. Though scars remained, I knew I had conquered the darkness inside. The battle was hard, but the light had won, and with the light, I found peace. The moment had come, The mirror's power was finally within my grasp to break. I stood before it, heart pounding, knowing this was the final test of my courage. The hateful reflection stared back, sneering, trying to hold on to control. But I no longer feared it. I had learned its tricks and faced its darkness. With a deep breath, I raised my hand and touched the cold glass. A crack appeared, then another spiderwebbing across the surface like the breaking of a curse. The shadow screamed, twisting and fading as the mirror shattered into 1,000 pieces. Light flooded the room, washing away the darkness that had haunted me for so long. In that moment, I felt weight lift from my shoulders, freedom from the chains of fear and doubt. The illusion was broken, and with it, the hold the mirror had over my soul. But as the shards fell, I realized something deeper had changed. Inside me, a new strength was born. I was no longer trapped by a reflection of hate. I was free to be my true self. With the mirror shattered, the hateful reflection was gone. But now I had to face something even harder. Myself. No more illusions, no more lies hiding behind glass. I looked inside my heart and saw all my fears, my mistakes, and the pain I had buried deep. It was scary, but also freeing. I understood that the shadow I had fought wasn't just in the mirror. It was part of me too. But I could choose what to do with it. Instead of running, I embraced my flaws and wounds. I forgave myself for the times I doubted and feared. This was the true battle, accepting who I really was, both light and dark. Only by facing myself fully could I find peace and strength. I felt a new power rising from that acceptance, a calm courage that no shadow could touch. The journey wasn't over, but I was ready for whatever came next. I was finally free, not because the mirror was gone, but because I had found my true self beyond its reflection.